inclusion and pull-out support to kids who are identified. We have to go through a process of identifying the kids based on MCAS scores and the common assessment data for getting assistance. To help out those tutors, we're going to invest in fast math. The grant also provides for supplies and materials, so we're going to get the fast math software program. It'll go in the labs at those schools identified, and it will give an opportunity to kids to work independently on developing some of their automaticity skills in mathematics. I spoke about the science task force that's coming online. We're going to continue with our common assessments, and we've already got the drafts of the proficiency plans thanks to Mr. Bernard. Beyond MCAS, I don't want to be redundant. I talked about it's the important work of the curriculum councils, talking about what's going on school to school and grade level to grade level, so both vertical and horizontal teams. The need to just continually improve our articulation of curriculum cohesion and consistency, using the data that we have to get better and focusing on higher order thinking skills. And if you're not overloaded enough, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to just give you a heads up on what's going on in curriculum. But before I do, you're glad you came in when you did.
The free and reduced lunch being a factor in helping kids. That's what you...
A lot of grants, and David probably has far more experience than I do with this, is they're needs-based.
But what if we have kids in the batch that need the help, but
it's incumbent upon us to provide for them. So we do provide for the kids.
Oh, all right. Okay.
These are supplemental funds that come in.
Oh, all right.
Their
But
whole
if you've
phrase
got
is-
kids in the batch, they're benefiting from the staff and the expertise and getting the help.
We can't direct staff under that's funded by Title I there, but it's expected that North Reading Public Schools has its own level of support, and this is to just supplement it. Not supplant it. It's to help us get better by giving us some extra money, but not take the place of something.
But we're still giving, I mean, just some parent is sitting out there saying, where's my school and why not my kid? So it's fair to say that the district will offer the assistance.
And assistance is in place.
Okay, all right.
Before you get into the curriculum and technology update,
That's another 2030.
no, first of all, I think, you know, you, Dr. Troughton, the principals, the teachers, the paras, the students, these results, for the most part, continue to be phenomenal, in my opinion. And I know they have to get better, and I know it's getting more difficult to get better, but we're getting just about close to as much as we can, I think, out of these results, and I'm really pleased. I'm also pleased to have you on the case in situations where we may have to improve certain grades, certain schools, certain subjects. So I guess without getting specific, what are some of the plans if we have a grade at a school or a grade at two different schools where we need to work? Are there some overall plans to work with a school or a grade?
Well, I think the Title I funding is going to help us target in on one of the areas that we need to, which is that grade 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely, I think, the paper called it the outlier.
Right.
It's an area that needs improvement. We also know we have some kids with some pretty significant needs in that class. So between SPED services, Title I services, and Title I services first and foremost should go to students who may not be receiving SPED services already. It's meant to try and help fill that gap. In new teams of people in place at key locations, I think we're on the road to a better day. We dug in earlier than we ever have really with the MCAS and using data to get profiles on kids, understanding where they are, who they are, and what their needs are, and talking to staff about how to use that information to get better.
And grade 4 is somewhat of an outlier, and I think
It is, and
you're
I
on
do
top of
recall
it.
it last year when we talked about grade 3, the results were not fantastic
Exactly.
coming out of the gate.
Right.
So I'm going to be curious to see if it acts like the other grade levels have, which is grade 3 kind of establishes that
A baseline,
proficiency
right?
and
Yeah.
advanced baseline,
Right.
and how much can we grow it from there is going to be our challenge. It's not enough to say this is the baseline.
Right.
That's okay. We have to figure out how to get
Right.
ahead.
Okay.
Just to add, I do think, you know, again, we had 38 new teachers this year, about that same number last year and the year before and the year before that. I think we need to step back and perhaps think a little more holistically as to how if we see at a particular grade or a particular school all the staff is new at that particular level, then, you know, perhaps we need to step back and think about how do we assign teachers to different grade levels within schools or between schools, to make sure that there's a balance, because you're never gonna have consistency. You may have one school that's targeted unfairly with, just because it happens to end up that way, with a significant turnover.
I think there is, if you look at our schools, there is some correlation to turnover and scores at some levels. I mean, I think this is probably always going to be, especially if you have 2 or 3 teachers, maybe out of 4 or 5 in a grade, it can make a big difference, so.
It's definitely had its impact. But at the same time, I think everyone's working together, and grade level teams work together to minimize that impact as much as possible. But it's changed. It's changed for the kids. It's changed for the adults.
Well, there were some schools of thought in town that would say, you know, to minimize your salary cost, you should hire only fresh out of college, bachelor degree kids, and
Teachers,
pay
right.
them at the bottom end of the salary scale.
Right.
Certainly it doesn't benefit the students to do that.
It takes between 3 and 5 years to settle into the profession and really learn its process.
Mhm.
I'd hate to see that happen. We've just been able to, one of the pieces on here is we've just been able to kind of revise and revamp, reinvigorate our mentor program. Because we did have a period of time where the majority, a significant number of teachers on staff, wonderful teachers, they had been here between 1 and 5 years. They weren't senior members to act in roles of mentors. We've been able to cultivate a group of people who are coming forward. We have many veteran mentors, but several new mentors who've gone through programs last year and the year before to help bring people along when they come in. I mean, the state recognizes, the State Board of Certification recognizes the need to cultivate new teachers. They require 40 to 50 hours of induction and training and mentoring so that they can pass to the next level of certification. So I think we'd be doing our students a disservice to just go with flat first-year BA students. BAs coming out of school and coming in for the first time. I think balance in a faculty really helps the culture, helps the learning process, provides an interesting dynamic for students.
I agree.
That's a very good point. So the quick curriculum and technology update, if there aren't any more questions on MCAS. And I think it's important that we do start to move beyond MCAS. MCAS is a good baseline. It's a good measure of how we're doing in the fundamentals. But that higher order thinking piece needs to become a real focal point for developing our kids beyond and for greater success. So curriculum and technology, what we have going on this year is, again, common assessments. We were just working on them this afternoon before the meeting and getting those in tip-top shape. Solid at elementary, and it's big focus for professional development at the high school this year. In fact, we're going off with the curriculum chairs at the high school. John Bernard and myself are going to an assessment conference in November to see how we might better implement that for the high school. Something that I haven't brought up yet, which is the expanded ELA offering at 6th and 7th grade, which is just a wonderful opportunity for us. Essentially, we're offering our 6th and 7th grade students 100 minutes of English language arts a day, which is, I think, a nice transition. The goal at the elementary is a 90-minute literacy block. It would make sense that it's equivalent when they get to the 6th and 7th grade, and they'll be going into the 78-minute block at the high school. It's split between 2 people, and we've designated one team to be the reading experts and one team to be more the language arts, literary analysis experts, and they're working together as teams to craft curriculum maps and come up with a unified game plan going forward on this. This was kind of a late, came on board in the summer, so we've done a lot of scrambling. We've projected out through December, and we're going to continually work to keep ahead on those maps. We implemented the History Alive program. Seems to be going well. Reports are that the teachers like it, and there's, again, way too many materials to possibly use, so they're finding their way for a good pace with that. Science Task Force coming online. We're working on a revision of the 5-year plan for curriculum technology. We're in the last year of a 5-year now, so that'll project out professional development, curriculum revisions, and goals for the next 5 years. I spoke about the mentor program, and these are the new texts that we brought online this year. The tech upgrades, I just want to mention this was a huge investment for the district. We were able to, as part of the recycling program for our computer technology, all of the high school labs were upgraded. We added a library lab, so the room that was off the back of the library that was used for small group is now a new lab available to students and teachers. We have a mobile laptop cart for science. They've invested time and energy in doing a lot of work with something called the Vernier probes. It's hands-on, active, computer-based program of doing labs and experiments that feed data into the computer so they can analyze information. So that's pretty exciting. So that is up and running at the high school. The middle school labs and the science classrooms have been upgraded at the middle school. All the learning centers at the middle school and high school have been upgraded. In the Hood School lab, and I should have put on there several different classrooms, the library also updated at the Hood School. In the next round, Batch and Little will be a focus, and we have increased usage of smart boards and teacher web pages across the district. So those are the highlights. I'm sorry, I know it's a lot of information. And that was just like a little bit of my binder on MCAS.
Given the, Mr. Bowers said it earlier, you can't be more efficient than this school district is. In fact, I think we may be off the charts in terms of efficiency. I wonder where we'd be if we were 16th from the top in school spending. I look at the results. Our teachers, the kids, the administrators, the dedication.
School committee.
The school committee. Oh, sorry, the school committee.
Starts at the top. It starts at the top.
But working in some cases less than optimal conditions, especially in the sciences. Some of the class sizes at the high school. I just think obviously we have to keep our focus, and as you and as Dr. Troten reminds me every time I'm talking about this, it's getting more difficult every year. Other communities are catching up to us because we started at a fairly high level, and to improve from there is difficult, especially if you may get to a point where if you don't have the resources. And that's one of the things I worry about in the lower grades. If you see the scores slipping in the lower grades, how related is that to resources, class sizes, et cetera, at those lower grades? And I think we just have to keep an eye on that.
And last year, it's like we forget because of the wonderful additions to staff that we have going into this year. But last year was a really tough year for faculty. We had a lot of cutbacks.
Very tough.
And students with the changes to the schedule, particularly at the elementary level. They felt it incredibly, and at the middle school.
Right.
And I'm here reporting to you on all of the numbers, but the numbers really mean that. I think it is the faculty and the students that we need to be thanking for their efforts in this. I'm just the reporter. So thank you for your time. I know these are always long. Anything else?
You notice Jerry rushed in here though to get a full report, so you should feel good
It
about
warms
that.
my heart. I was
Damon,
excited.
you always do your best to be concise, and I certainly appreciate it. As a moment of as you are, you do a great job at that.
And since
A great job.
I've been informed by a little bird that the Red Sox are losing 5-0, maybe there isn't that much of a rush to get home anyway, so. We could've let you go on longer. Anyway, thank you, Pam.
You're more than welcome.
And we'll be seeing you, I'm sure soon with another update
Whenever you need me.
with new books and everything else. Okay, thanks. Dave, do you want to say anything else about their MTAS and?
No, I don't think Pam said it.
All right, great. Let's get back to continued business. School building projects. I believe the secondary school building committee had a meeting recently. Do you want to update us?
Just a brief update, yes. The school building committee met last week, also with the architects from Doran Whittier. They're going to assist us in updating the statement of interest, both for the middle school and the high school. And they did take a vote, and that is that they will put a priority on revising the high school statement of interest, because we can only revise and submit one. When that is revised, it will require a vote by the school committee and the board of selectmen. So our plan is to bring it back to the school committee and the board of selectmen in early November. The deadline for submission is November 5th.
When they bring that back, can you ask them to outline why the high school over the middle school
Sure.
as a priority?
Sure.
I think probably in brief, the quickest way to sum it up would be that the program